So my name is Akira, and this is me, my colleague, and so we're doing this very first class this year on how to make your own ramen business from scratch. So really happy to we wish you guys going to be like have wonderful year, way greater than like any of your previous years. Everyone from Yamato. So yes, let's get started. So we are going to talk about the how to make ramen business from scratch. And yeah, so we've been running our ramen school like for quite a while. I actually over like 2 decades. So and over the years like we've learned a lot. So I think like we should share some of like what we've learned and then that help you guys get started with your you go like probably starting your own ramen shop this year. So what we're gonna talk about is, we're gonna talk about like first, like we're gonna talk about like, you need to start, with the end in mind. That's your smiling customers, right? Then considering like production and delivery of your ramen business, and so like I think like we think like we're gonna do like two parts to this class, and so today I think we're gonna just talk about like production side of things, and then the next class next Friday I believe we're gonna talk about the delivery side of your ramen business. And yeah, and after that, like actually just brief lecture, we are gonna do the just brief demo of how ramen noodles can be made from fresh, like made fresh, right, on our Richmond Gold machine. And after that, like we're gonna go to the ramen kitchen. I mean, like kitchen, right, our school. Then our instructor is gonna show us how to put together a bowl of ramen. And of course, we'll love your questions, would like to answer. Like, so during the lecture, like, or, class, like, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them in the comments. Appreciate it. So, so we started our ramen school, right, like back in like 1990s, like over 20 years, right? And we have like more than 2,000 graduates, 2,000 graduates. Yeah, it's a lot of people. And ever since, right, like we started implementing this method called like digital cooking method like that allows, like anyone to be able to like start making great bowls ramen from scratch. So like this digital cooking method, like just, well, we actually, base our cooking on like numbers, right? Numbers. So we, measure everything by numbers, like, weight, and then temperature, cooking temperature, and like, time, cooking time. So everything with numbers. So, and that's a great cooking method that like allows actually anyone, even like coming from like, outside Japan, right, to be able to like, make exactly the same bowl of ramen, anywhere in the world. So, and this class, this our school, it's been like evolving with each class, with new students, right, bringing new ideas. Um, so, like you said, we've been accumulating, new ideas, like different, ramen recipes, right, over the years, like over 20 years, right? So, database. So we have lots and lots of recipes, for soup, toppings, noodles, and so like we be improving this curriculum for like by running research and development like on a daily basis. So we've been like just growing and growing the curriculum like, and then like our know-hows. And then we just actually started online course last month, and so we are now teaching these methods online. Okay, so the first topic like I just want to like touch on is like your ramen business has to start with smiling customers. Yeah, don't worry about the picture like because I couldn't find any person like that smiling. So I just put that picture of yeah, that's our like production chief like Mr. Hashimoto like smiling. Yeah, like don't worry about like that's nothing to do with this. Yeah, but like you have to have like customers in mind, like in the first, right, to start, thinking about what you're gonna offer, and because like your yeah, you like if you have like product first, like what kind of ramen you're gonna serve first, right? I mean, without thinking about customers, then you will likely to fail because if you just put out a ramen and if your customers don't like it, like then you're just gonna fail, right? So like you have to like start with your customers, like, and so that's the result you want. You have customers like smiling and satisfied with your bowl ramen, right? So your customers have like some unfulfilled needs, right? So that's the basis of that should be the basis of your products and operation and branding. Okay. So yeah, let's think about this. So like, so what are the pain points of your customers, right? So yeah, so like the way we should think about like customers, like maybe like demographics, right? Like that's be like age, sex, or like it's like how many people like there's in household, or things like that, like where they live. Like psychographics have to do with like personal traits, like where they like, and then what kind of like well, like magazine that they read, or like blog like they frequent or something. So which may be more important than their demographics, like if you're, well, depending on kind of business you're doing. But so for example, like we may have like certain like internal dialogue, like well, we don't have like any ramen bars where we can enjoy like hearty bowls of ramen along with complement, like after the we can enjoy and relax with a good selection of alcohol in my neighborhood, right? Or there's no ramen shops that offer authentic bowls of ramen I had like when traveling to Japan, or there's a ramen shop in my town, like catered to the needs of my family, with two small kids. Or well, a ramen shop in my town, like too Japanese, like too foreign to me, right? Like it's like taking a trip to another world. That's like a bit scary for me to try. Or there's no ramen restaurant in my city where I can take my vegan friends with the confidence. Or I wish there was a ramen shop that's serving great bowls of sukemen that I'm a big fan of. So like these are the kind of, well, kind of more like more obvious than so we could base our products offerings like on these needs, or but these are kind of like harder to like cover, but like so I think what we recommend you do first is that maybe like do a research, right? Then trying to find like how many ramen shops are there like in or certain distance, right? Certain diameter of like your hometown, or like well, if you go to these restaurants, right? Then like what kind of ramen noodles they're like, what kind of bowls of ramen like they're serving, or things like that. And then like if you can deliver your products better, if you can produce the products better than what they're doing, right? Then you have a chance of like winning. You have a chance like beating them. Um, so there are two parts, right, to your ramen business. Like so, it's like production and delivery, right? Production, delivery. So there are things that like your customers may care about, like type of like production. So you have to make bowls of ramen, and like they of course like care about like quality, taste, or like they may care about like capacity of the restaurant. Like if they like big fan of like 10, like group of 10 or something, like if they want to dine at your restaurant, and if you only have like 8 seats, well, it's rare, but like then they can't like everyone of them like can't sit, right? Or consistency. Well, you need to be able like serve exactly the same bowl of ramen that this guy had like the last week, right? So yeah, so these are the things like your customers may care about, like depending on what kind of like customer you're dealing with. And of course like delivery, right? Delivery, of course, if you have like great products, but if you like if you are bad at like delivering them, then you don't have a business. So your customers may care like speed, how fast you can deliver them, and service quality, right? If your service is bad, then you lose a customer, right? You don't have a yeah, like fan. Then convenience. You have to have like some features that like that are very convenient for them to make order like to get it delivered to their doorstep or something. So you have to have both production and delivery that are good, right? But like in this today's class, we're just going to talk about mainly focus on the production side of your ramen business. So for production, right, like so you need to have right products that turn your customers into raving fans. So raving fans means your customers like love your products, like you like bowls of ramen, right? But at the same time, they want to talk about them. They want to talk positively about your products to other people, like friends, relatives. So they are like just like promoter of your shop. They promote your business. Like they are like kind of sales reps of your business. So to turn your customers into raving fans, you need to have great, of course, like great noodles, soup and sauce and toppings. They're really high in quality and then consistent, right? Quality. So the product, right? Products consist of like of course like noodles, sauce, soup, right? And then toppings and beverages like side dishes and other things, right? And of course you have to have like all these production equipment that help you make each of these components efficiently. And the menu recipes, right? Menu recipes, you have to design them like based on your, customers' needs, right? So and then production, you need to have like equipment again, right? And then like production of, these different components like noodles, soups and sauce, and toppings, others. And then of course you need to have like delivery system, like you have to have like like third party delivery vendor that that's reliable, that you can rely on. Yeah. So and this is a cycle that just always production, the operation just goes in a loop, right? It repeats and repeats. You produce, store, and then deliver, right? And then there's another step, but like well, procure like your ingredients, and then produce again, store, and then deliver. So like just repeats to well create a base of your raving fan, like raving customers. So this is the like a thing like we have like on our website, but like this is like kind of like we call like evolution of ramen. And so we start out like with starting ramen, noodle soup, and then so you have like this is the kind of typical ramen that you see at like any of the ramen shop. And so you have like soup, right? It's soup made of well consists of like soup stock based stock, tare, and like flavor oil. And so, like the soup volumes are high, a lot of soup, and like it could be like hot or cold. And in there, like in it, like there's boiled noodles. So this is a standard ramen, and like we still, maybe like over like 50% of at least like 50% like ramen shop like serve this type of ramen. And so this was like first like bowl of like this type of ramen was so like maybe like 120 130 years ago in Japan, right? And then tsukemen, right? Like dipping noodles, and so like you have like boiled like cooked noodles in there, and then you have the dipping sauce, right? And then like so you just dip the noodles in there and eat it. But like this soup, dipping sauce, is made out of the base stock, the tare, and the flavor oil. And the the amount of tare that's added, right? Tare means like the seasoning, which I'm gonna explain more about like later. But like, so it's three times more intense than the amount of tare that's added to the standard ramen soup. So because then you're dipping the plain noodles into the dipping sauce to have, so you need to have a balance, right? So that's why like dipping sauce like intense in flavor and the taste. I did have like mazamen, and so then that's just like soupless noodle. So like you have like cooked noodles, and with like all these sauce like covering all the noodles. So this is an evolution, like so became like less and less soup, and more and more sort of delivery and takeout friendlier. So it's like gets like more and more like suitable for yeah, delivery and takeout, like which is actually a big part of ramen business today. And so, based on the our customers, right, our customers that needs, we let's say like we came up with these offerings, right? And so, okay, we're gonna do six options ramen dishes. So like, tonkotsu, shoyu, and shio, and miso, right? The tsukemen, and we're gonna have like vegan ramen option, and we're gonna have like six toppings, six options toppings, pork chashu and chicken breast chashu, and flavor eggs and tofu steak, and well, stir fry local vegetables and locally grown like shito mushroom, like that's marinated. And side dishes, I'm gonna have pork gyoza, chicken gyoza, and then vegan gyoza, and house salad, right? And a jar of like pickled locally grown vegetables, and stir fry noodles, and oyakodon. That's chicken egg rice bowl, and there's okonomiyaki pancakes. That's Japanese pancakes. And then for noodles, we're gonna have thin, medium, and thick, and gluten-free options. That's made of rice. And so if we translate all these, offerings into like kind of, so how we're gonna produce them, right? Each of them. So, we could categorize them into, well, soup production side, and the noodle production, and topping production, and side dish production. So yeah, of course, like these are not going to cover like each like all of that offerings, but like these are going to be main production units. And so basically, ramen business is just divided into production and delivery. I said that before, but um, so you have a factory where like you produce like everything, right? Like soup, components like noodles and toppings, side dishes. So you make them separately, right? Separately, and then you may assemble them like in the same at the same like location, but like you may like just transfer them like transport them like in different location to different outlets, and that's where like you just assemble them into the order of your customer. So basically, ramen shop is a technically assembly factory of like all these things like that are just prepared in advance. And so the production of soup, then it's like we've already talked about this before, but like ramen soup consists of these three components, and base stock, which could be like animal type like seafood, vegetable, and then other types like fruit. And we're talking about like standard ramen, hot soup noodle, like base stock serving. One serving is like around like 300 grams, and you're adding tare, like motodare, like that's the seasoning, right? Seasoning to that base stock, right, to make soup. And it's basically there are three basic types, like miso, soy sauce, and salt. And the amount like this seasoning we are adding to the base stock is like 3 to 15%, right? And of the base stock amount. And flavored oil. And flavored oil, like what it does is like it adds the aroma to the soup, right? So it makes a significant difference, like in terms of like flavor, and it's gonna be totally different. Yeah, flavor. Like if you add like just a little, I mean, few droplets of this flavor oil, and then you could have like an animal type oil or vegetable type oil, plant-based oil. And so base stocks. So we actually in the real courses that we do like in Japan, we cook different types of base stocks individually in the separate pots, right? So like this pot could be cooking pork backbone, like thick version of pork backbone stock, and this pot it could be cooking like light version or like whole chicken stock. So we make about like maybe 10 to like 15 different types of base stocks, right? Based on the requests of student, right? And so each student can taste how each of the stock tastes, right? So that they know like how they can, just combine them, like blend them at different ratios to come up with their own, blend of base stocks. So, and then, we have to like care about like the quality of that ingredients we use for the base stocks as well. And, we have like certain methods like we, use to prepare these base stock ingredients before we start cooking. And yeah, so different parts, you may like, well, the pork head, right? And then like pork trotters, the chicken feet. So each of them has like their like sort of benefits or characteristics that we use them differently. And depending on the kind of soup, kind of ramen soup like you're making, we use different ingredients. So this is another thing like we talk about like in our school, but so like there's a ratio like over the course of like making lots and lots of like this cooking lots and lots of like this stock. So like we found out this optimal ratio of like water and ingredients, right? Cooking ratio that's like 2 to 1. So this is the cooking ratio like where the extraction of the umami right from the ingredients is the most efficient. So, we that's why we maintain this cooking ratio, water ratio, like throughout the cooking time, so that like we could extract the most amount of like umami out of the ingredients, in the shortest amount of time. And this is another example, like is that like this is a cooking stock, but like we could have like a light version meaning like it's a clear soup, like kind of less cloudy soup, and a thick version means like kind of cloudy soup, like in the tonkotsu, like kind of cream white colored soup. So there are different methods of making these versions, like thicker, like a lighter version, less cloudy. And so this is the tool that we use to measure the base stock density, and we can actually measure like such thing as a salinity level of the soup as well, and then the sweetness of the soup too. Like so, because yeah, digital cooking, probably digital cooking method like practice, use these tools to make sure that we are making like soup like consistently like based on these numbers. So yeah, so we use it like different type of like measuring tools. And another thing that like women like we use is that like this is um, hard water and so on. Like so yeah, when cooking they stock like we use soft water because like in hard water like there are minerals like magnesium, like calcium, that bother the extraction of umami from the ingredients, right? So we want to use soft water, and um, so in the class, in the course, right, in our school, like we recommend like use of water softener if you have to work with hard water. Then because like that makes a lot of difference, like in terms of cost and the time and the amount of ingredients that you have to use to get exact more same amount of the base stock. And then actually, like if you cook, if you need to like cook like for a long time, like that also affect the quality of the base stock as well. So, um, you know, that's that's a piece of information that like that would help you a lot. When it comes to like production, like when it comes like production cost, the well amount of time you have to spend on that, product or production, and the tare, right? Tare is like this is basically seasoning, and in a real course, like we usually make, around like 50, 60 different types of like tare, and so we have like, um, so basically soy sauce version, like and then salt, shio version, or like miso tare. Then we infuse different ingredients into them, and for example, like soy sauce, right? Like, and then if you are cooking certain ingredients, like for example, the certain types of seafood, like scallop or something like in there. So we are extracting this umami into soy sauce, right? And it's like shio tare, right? Like the same thing, like it's the salt water, and you're cooking these certain ingredients in there to extract umami into the salt water. So these are the seasoning, and we have like full course, full section that's dedicated to how to make different types of tare. And yeah, flavor oil. This is also important. Like these are the oil, right? And again, like in real course, we make like about like 20, 30 kinds. They don't like using different ingredients, right? And so um, so, like you could use actually many types of ingredients. Like some ramen shops actually use like like really expensive like ingredients like in a truffle or something to make the flavor oil for their ramen, right? But like that's up to your musicians. Like basically the same thing. So like you take the oil, right? Like vegetable, so like animal fat or something to, and then add ingredients to it, and then like apply heat, right? Apply heat, and then just get the umami out into the oil. And so that would change the flavor of the ramen soup like dramatically. So like you need to have like multiple um, oils, different oils, like probably your own prepared. And the toppings, of course, yeah, it's like we prepare like different type of like toppings. You know, but because noodles are carbohydrates mainly, of course, like there are proteins too in there, but like and the soups basically it's fat and then protein and liquid, and so there's no much of like vegetables, right? So for ramen toppings, like we encourage like you to like use a lot of like different types of vegetables, and then maybe some protein too. Yeah, so like basically locally available ingredients, be like anything would be like that kind of balance with it, like noodles and soup would be great. And of course, like we teach noodles, how to make noodles, right? And so this is a chart that we've been using like to describe different types of like noodle texture, like different types of ramen noodles. In terms like noodle texture, how hard they are, how chewy they are, like what the like how thick they are. So it's kind of very convenient, like to describe different types of ramen noodles. So noodle production, like just briefly, because we've been talking about like a lot, like in details, like in different classes. But like basically, like, you think of like type of ramen dish, and then what kind of noodle texture you want, right? And then so based on that, you think about like ingredients, right? What ingredients like they need to be protein, hydration, and then you think of noodle size, and then you think about like serving size as well. And if your target market like has like some kids like who don't eat much, like then like you want to have like an option of a serving size that's half, maybe half the like regular serving size or something, or and then packaging, of course, like if you are making noodles for home meal kits, then you want to consider packaging like more solid than regular like takeaway or some package. And you also think about the final texture in terms of like how they're cooked, right? And so then like noodles have to be cooked, right, in boiled water to be able like consumed. Uh, and then so you have to think about like how they're cooked, and then get to final textures, like kind of final texture, your customers experience, right? If the noodles are like cooked inside a restaurant, then you can make sure you have a control, right, of like final texture. But like if the noodles are cooked at the customer's home, then you won't have like kind of clear instruction for your customers to cook the noodles properly. Yeah, things like that. And so the ramen noodles, yeah, then there's solid ingredients, liquid ingredients, and then noodle size. thick, thin, or flat, or different shapes. So basically, like they have to do with the noodle texture. And yeah, so this is the noodle shapes, different sizes for different types of like noodles, tonkatsu noodles, like ramen noodles, tsukemen, yeah, different sizes, and then different katas, shapes. So that's was kind of long, but like that was the lecture for today. But like, so the next class, we're gonna talk more about like the like dining. So dining in business, um, or like takeout, takeaway, or delivery, or how you deliver your products basically. So we're gonna dive in like deeper into that aspect of your ramen business in the next class. And also, right, you need equipment to for your production. And so we haven't touched that in this class. So like we probably touch on this in the next class. So just for soup production, right? Like you have to produce like base stock, tare, and flavor oil. So you need like some heating appliances, right? And then plus water supply. And then you need like measuring device like refractometer, stock straining, spatula to like kind of store the stock, right? And also you have to have like stock pots and water softener if your water is like hard, right? And then also like ventilation system, yeah, location, the single facet refrigerator to store your stock, and containers, of course, different types of containers. So these are just part of yeah, the equipment that you may need for your soup production. But yeah, because we've been running like our school, like where we've been producing, making the stocks and noodles and everything from scratch. So we know about these equipment and like utensils and everything. So we have lots to share at each. Right, so like, we're gonna make noodles on our Richmond gold machine, but like before we go into that, like I just take just a few minutes, just well, explaining like our private schooling online. We just launched, and so we launched like a ramen school, like, but yeah, just last month. And then so we've been teaching our ramen for like over 20 years. And then this is our first attempt to like kind of, well, like making these all the curriculums online, like. And then we designed this course, for anyone to be able to start making authentic, professional ramen from scratch, right? And this is also like a design for like professionals, business, startups, and even for like existing ramen shops, like who want to, train their employees, right? So it's practical. And definitely like by taking this course, right, we'll make sure that you'll be able to, well, make your own things like balls ramen like from scratch, right? So learn and actually start making your own ramen. And this course is constantly evolving, right? Like we're going to be updating with more new contents. And you can actually, learn as long as you need to master and start making your own ramen. So, and of course, like you can directly ask the instructor your questions to solve your problem. So, uh, yeah, for anyone who's interested in taking the course, like, it's available. And so please check it out. And then currently we only have the section that's up to like base sauce, I mean base stock that we talked about, right? And then so for your ramen soup to be complete, right, we need tare, dare, and then the flavor oil, and that they are coming later this month. By the end of this month, like we are launching them, they're going to be making them available. So like by the end of this month, like you should be able to start making your own soup from scratch. So please stay tuned and please check out our online school. dot Yamato noodle.com. So thank you. Okay, so let's start making some um, ramen noodles. And kind of ramen noodles we want to make today is the most popular ramen noodles in the world. That's Hakata style tonkotsu noodles. This is a thin and hard noodles, and then this is a flour, right? And the flour and the solid ingredients like flour, egg white powder, and then this is the gluten powder. This is the liquid ingredients, and this is water, and there's salt, and this is kansi. Kansi is basically combination of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. So, okay, let's get started. And so this machine we have right here is what's called like Richmond Gold machine, Richmond Gold machine. And so this is an all-in-one machine that you can actually make your own noodles like from scratch, right? From scratch meaning, like just from raw materials, ingredients. So it has this mixer that you can mix up to like 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, right? At maximum, right? And then, um, yeah, so a minimum, you can mix 4 kilograms of solid ingredients. So at 10 kilograms, the maximum, you're getting about, 14, around 4 kilograms of dough at a time. So it's mixing and right, so it's mixing, right? And then we want to mix it like for 1 minute, like just with the solid ingredients, just to be sure that like all these solid ingredients like they're different in kinds, like to be like mixed up like really well before we add liquid to it. And so she's setting the timer to 4 minutes and start a mixer, and then so she just pour the liquid right onto that lid, um, which has these small holes, right? Like then these small holes allow this liquid to be drip through and it to be added to the water, I mean the flour, like a little by little to render good hydration of dough. And yeah, so we can keep watching it, but like you want to move on to the next process. So she prepared the dough, right? Dough in advance, right? And so this dough, as you maybe always see, right? This is a dough for Hakata tonkotsu noodles, like which is it's considered like low hydration noodle, like low hydration noodle. So the you maybe like see that like this is like really dry noodle, right? Really dry noodle. Like so, yeah, it's almost like nothing happened to that. Well, the flour, right? It's like but like it's just kind of like moist flour, and and you people like notice that like it's yellow, right? So it'll be like pale yellow. So that color comes from the kansi. So we added kansi and then like that well that changed that certain element of the flour to pale yellow. And so now like what we're doing is like we are making rough sheet of dough, right? Rough sheet of dough. So like just there's a set of rollers and set of rollers like kind of like brushing this dough, like almost like powdery dough, into a sheet of dough, kind of forcing it to. And so that's the first step to turn this, like dough into the sheet of dough. And then notice, you know, that's automatic, right? It's automatic. Like she's not right, doing anything. You just place the dough into the conveyor belt, and then the machine is just feeding the dough into the machine into the roller, right? So it's automatic. Yeah, that's what it does. And yeah, so and then oh, so like she put her hand in there, right? And then like so, and then it stopped because that there's a safety sensor, that this machine has, right? Like so, there's a sensor, like there's a beam, kind of like running, kind of horizontally, and then like when she put like when her hand like crosses the beam, then just stops, right? So that if she accidentally kind of like put her hand in there and then like get caught in the roller and like gets injured or something like so that never happens. So that's pretty cool. Like so that's probably like more like one of the most advanced safety features you know there is like in on that like commercial noodle machine. So after the first process, right? Like we call it like rough foaming, and um, so we want to make it firm, right? Like because rough foaming, like so, like literally that's the dough is still rough, right? Dough is still rough. So or rough being like kind of fragile, easy to break, right? So we want to make it firm, want to make it like solid, right? More solid. So to do that, like we want to yeah, separate it and you know combine them through the roller. And so it's like so this process is like kind of working, like kind of working a muscle. Like when you work on a muscle, then yeah, you make it stronger, right? And then but at the same time, like you need some rest, right? For your muscle to like gain uh, the strength. Like and if you like keep like working it out, then it just uh, gets damaged, right? So so this process like kind of similar to yeah, working your muscle and then like kind of developing your right muscle and making it firmer. So and again, like it's once you set it up, like it's automatic. So like um, yeah, so it's like you can yeah, just leave it and you start doing something else. Yeah, because this dough is not much. So she made like just a small amount, like just for the sake of like demo, right? But imagine you have full amount, like like 14 kilogram dough, right? Then yeah, it's quite a while. Like you have to wait in front of the machine, right? But you don't have to wait, right? This machine, you can either do like other things, like like maybe like cutting, like chopping up some scallions, or like cutting your, I mean like preparing your like flavored eggs. So yeah, that these machines like set you free to do other things. And so so this we call this process like combining process, and um, depending on the type of noodle you're making, you do this process like 1 to 2 times, 1 to 2 times, like make sure that like that dough is firm. So it just kind of depends on the type of noodle you're making, but this recipe like we will do it twice. So everything is pretty much displayed on that touch panel. So like um, it's all like digital, and like it's very clear. Where the process is going, and speed and everything. The roller gap and everything. So and yeah, best of all, like a lot of processes are automated. So yeah, so you can use some free time to do other tasks. Okay, so that was the second combining process, and from this point on, like we'll just have to just thin it, right? Thin it to the final thickness before we cut it. Yeah, so we're just thinning it, and then yeah, and then you can actually speed up the roller, like sheeting, and um, yeah. So from this point on, like we'll usually speed it up because pretty much like after combining process, the dough structure, the dough like dough is complete. All you have to do is just thin it to the final thickness. Okay, so that's actually going to 1 millimeter roller gap. That's 1 millimeter roller gap, and I think like next round like we're gonna cut it, but like uh, yeah, we're dealing with the dough like that's made of like wheat flour, and that means if you have like if you like made like bread like from scratch before, right? I mean you might have like some experience like like dough like getting like well expanding and then like well bouncing back like from the like original size, right? And then so the same thing. Um, yeah, just like a dough like made of wheat flour, so like that one even like it's going through 1 millimeter roll gap, like it just gets back to like it expands like it's even by a little bit. So yeah, even so like if like if you're thinning it 1 millimeter roll gap, don't assume that like the actual thickness is going to be same thickness. So it's a good thing like you need to measure it, like you need to measure the thickness, actual thickness, to see, yeah, what the difference is. So how much it, expands, right? How much it expands, so that you know, like, what the roller gap you need to set to get the final thickness you want. Okay, so she wants to go for another round of cheating before cutting. Yeah, so why we do like multiple like times like cheating is that like yeah, because like if you like thin it like drastically, right, drastically, then yeah, the because you've been working to like develop like gluten structure inside the dough, right? But like if you thin it like if you like thin it like drastically like all at once, then that's going to damage the gluten structure. We've been working so hard to develop, right? And so that's really bad. So like, that's why like we thin on gradually, and so we use this rule of like 30% reduction rule. Like so every round of sheeting, we reduce the thickness like by 30%, and so that's kind of number like we've like reached after like years and years like research and development, like trying to find like perfect noodle texture for different types of noodles. Okay, so that was like actually 0.7 millimeter in thickness, 0.7 millimeter. So that's really thin, right? But like look at the actual thickness, right? The actual thickness, that's still like 1.4. Wow, so 1.4. Like so there's like difference like of 0.7. Like that's still too thick, but so the amount, like how much it bounces back, right? Like just really great. I mean, it's that's a lot of, yeah. So that's why you have to measure the actual thickness, like every time, like you sheet it, like before you cut it, just make sure that you get the final thickness right. Oh, this is the kind of cutter we use, like, and then it's like we call it sliter cutter, and then like the dough goes into the middle, right? And then like kind of like a paper shredder, and then like dough comes out like like noodle strands. So put it in there, and then so for this is Hakata style ramen noodles, like so, which are thin, right? So the width, right? It's number 24 cutter, and then the width of like one strand noodle is at 1.3 millimeter. It's 1.3 millimeter width, and yeah, so that's pretty thin. And so when you eat it, right, when you eat this noodle, you get this sort of like sensation, like kind of crunchy sort of texture. It's hard, and but like it's kind of like at the same time like crunchy, yeah, texture. And then you can control the length of the noodle, right? The volume, length of the noodle. So the length of noodle basically determines the portion size, right? Serving size of the noodles. Usually the longer the noodles, right, the bigger the portion. So it's really important too. Like, but Hakata style tonkotsu noodles, like it's basically, they are served in a small serving, like small quantity, um, because like it's just because they're thin, right? They're thin, so like they get soft, in hot soup like fast, right? So they serve you like small quantity on purpose, right? Maybe like 90 grams per serving or something, like 100 grams per serving. They serve like small quantities every like small quantity on purpose, for you to be like finish it, finish like before the noodles get soggy or like soft. So and then like if you're still hungry, then you can go for another portion of cooked noodles, but you need to eat the noodles in the same soup. But like in Japanese, like we call it kaidama, but like so this is a sort of kind of special kind of ordering system that they have at typical like it's like a specialty shop that serves in serving yeah, so like Hakata tonkotsu style noodles, ramen. And then they also have, um, you know, they also like let you choose, how you like your noodles to be cooked. You can like order like them to be soft or like hard. It's very hard or like they probably have like give you like five 5 options. So the machine's like kind of portioning out, right? Portioning out noodles, the length that you choose, and yeah, so it's very consistent. Like so, once you set the length, right? This margin of error, like be like yeah, plus minus like 5 grams. So that's it's very precise. And like because that position that like she's catching noodles like is pretty high, right? So it's economically good, like comfortable. Like you don't hurt your back. Like if you just keep catching the noodles like for an hour, right? And at the same time, your customers have a better view of like the noodles coming out. So this is the kind of machine like you want to have like in front of your ramen shop to like kind of showcase your piece of equipment that you're churning out like all these like beautiful noodles. So this is Richmond Gold, and this is Hakata style ramen noodles. It's just fresh made out of Richmond Gold machine. So let's go to the kitchen, right? So our kitchen is relatively small for culinary school because we only we can only have like 8 people, 8 students at a time, and like one-on-one basis. Okay, so Miss Sano, our primary school instructor, like we're lucky to have her like teaching us. So tonkotsu ramen, um, right? So it's kind of basic tonkotsu ramen, just for us to be able to like show you guys, how tonkotsu ramen, like we put together tonkotsu ramen. So, I think maybe Happy New Year to you guys. So, はい、今日は、一般的な豚骨ラーメン作っていきます。 so today like we're just gonna do the like well tonkotsu ramen like in general like. 豚骨ラーメンなんですけど、3つのものからできていて、スープベース。So tonkotsu ramen is consists of like 3 components. It's like base stock. これ豚ベースのスープベース。Yeah, so this is like the base is the pork. はい。で、そこに元ダレが入ります。 And then you're adding the tare motodare seasoning like we talked about, right? And then adding these to the base. で、元ダレに香味油が入ってラーメンになります。 Yeah, so like on top of that like we're adding like flavor oil, and then to make tonkotsu. で、元ダレの分量が書いてあるんですけど、これはあくまでヤマトのオリジナルのレシピになるので、ご参考までに。Yeah, so like she wrote out like these like numbers like grams of like each of them tare, right? Like, but it's just one sample of the tare. I mean, so so just take it as that. これ1人分の分量になります。上からいきますね。合わせ酢が2 グラム。 This is just for one serving, like so. The blended vinegar like 2 grams. 次ナンプラー1 グラム。 So we fish sauce at 1 gram. で、火を入れてない濃い口3種類っていう元ダレが1 グラム。 Yeah, so 1 gram like fresh unheated like soy sauce like 3 blend. We also talk about this like in an online course lecture, but right. で、塩3種っていう元ダレが4 グラム。 So it's like 4 grams like salt. So like 3 types like tare blended salt, 4 grams. で、次塩昆布が8 グラム。 And then salt sauce with kelp infused like so 8 grams. で、次塩煮干しが4 グラム。 So 4 grams like sardine salt tare. 最後に切りみりん、アルコール飛ばしたみりんが2 グラム。 So like 2 grams of like mirin, but like without alcohol. はい、で、この煮切りみりんが全体をまとめてくれるような役割を果たします。Yeah, so like this mirroring without alcohol is really important, because that's gonna sort of like round the whole like sort of like taste and flavor of this tare like in soup. So
で、さっきのスープベースにこの元だれと香牛が入って豚骨なんです。
yeah, so the soup base, right, and then the tare, and then flavor oil, and then we make we're gonna make like tonkotsu ramen, and then this is the like amounts like quantity for one serving. Okay, I forgot to finish with it.
はい、じゃあ、元だれ合わせていきますね。
Okay, so let's start blending the tare.
はい、これが、はかりになります。
So that's a scale that we use.
で、細かい単位まで0.00まで測れます。細かい単位。
Yeah, so this scale is like capable like actually measuring weight up to 2 decimal point of like a gram.
はい。で、この中に、それぞれ入れて測っていきます。
Yeah, so I'm going to use that cup to measure like each of the tare, and then get that tare like in total.
で、上から合わせず2グラムですね。
So the blended vinegar like 2 grams, right? 2 grams of blended vinegar. Yeah.
で、これ2グラム測っていきます。ぴったり2グラムです。
So like just precisely like 2 grams.
ちょっと、細かいんですけど、ぴったり測っていきます。
So yeah, to make like just one serving, right? One serving like this kind of pain, but like like we usually like really precise about that, and
測れたらちょっと一つにまとめますね。
yeah, so once we like measure it, like just gonna put it in the same cup to
で、次
put
ナン
together.
プラー1グラム。
So that's fish sauce, the 1 gram.
ちょっと入れすぎたので、出します。
Yeah, just a bit too much.
で、これをずっと繰り返していきます。
Yeah, so like just keep repeating like until like we get that amount, like correct amount, and then because this is one serving, so like each of the tare like is just really small, so that's why like it sometimes like takes time to like kind of get the amount right, but
次醤油ですね。醤油の1グラム。
okay, soy sauce like this. These are three types of blended. Just 1 gram.
今、1人分なので、1個1個測ってますけど、大体お店でされる場合とかだと、何人か分をまとめて作っておいて、そこから1人分のグラムを、取って作っていくようになります。
Yeah, so right now, like I'm making this, for one serving, right? So, but that's why like the each of the tares, is like really small in quantity, right? But like if you're doing like commercially, that's sold pre-blended, like three types blended, like so if you're doing like commercially, then like of course, like you can't do that, right? Just for one serving by someone, but so let's say like you make them for make a tire for like blend tire for like 100 serving, like or like even 1,000 serving, right? You just blend them together, right? And then so they're all blended for this type of soup, right? So all you have to do like in actual operation, that's so yeah, actual operation is that like, you just take a ladle, right? Ladle that just one scoop is that exact amount of that tare that you need for one serving the soup, right? And so like that's pretty fast. That's pretty fast.
今、塩昆布まで入りました。
So that's salt, shio, the kelp,
次、塩煮干しですね。
the salt sardines, the 4 grams.
で、最後合わせ、握りみりんですね。
So lastly, the mirroring without alcohol.
で、一回こう火にかけてもらって、アルコールが飛ぶまで。
Yeah, so mirroring usually use like contains like alcohol, but like you reheat it and to the point where it's like there's gonna be flame, right? And then like we just get that alcohol like evaporated, and so what's left is this mirroring without alcohol.
実際学校でするときは、とりあえず一回このヤマトのレシピで作ってもらって、そこから自分好みにこういろいろ調整していただくような感じでしてもらってます。
So in actual school like when we do that blending session, so we just start this. We need to have a base, right? Like we need to have a base, and so to each student like just probably have no idea, right? Like how to blend. So of course, like so to save time, like they may like just start with this base, right? And then see, and then like if you, like taste it, and then like oh yeah, like yeah, this is good, but like I want to make it like more, whatever, right? And then like so that's the starting point, and so from the like with the advice of like from the instructor, like okay, if you want to make like saltier, like if you want to make like like with them like more flavors, like the soy sauce or something, or whatever, right? So then you can adjust it like adding like different tare or yeah other things.
はい、もう取られ方合わせられました。
So that's a tare all blended together.
今から麺を入れて、スープ入れて、こう出来上がります。
Okay, so I'm gonna make the bowl from gochu now.
で、作る前にお皿が冷たいとスープが冷めちゃうので、お湯を入れてちょっと温めます。
So when you're serving a bowl, right, I mean, that bowl is like cold, and then if you add the hot soup in it, so that's gonna, well, uh, that's gonna like decrease the temperature of the soup, right? So what we want to do is like when we're serving, we first want to, warm the bowl, right, by adding the hot water, and then of course like make sure that like you wipe the water because that's gonna dilute the soup.
で、しっかり水分を拭いてもらって、そこにさっきの素が入れます。
Okay, so add that tare, right? The tare.
で、これコーンフレークです。
And this is a flavor oil.
でも何種類か事前にブレンドを。
And so, yeah, much like the tare, right? I've already like actually blended like different types like flavor oil in it for this wall.
で、ここまで用意ができたら、スープ入れますね。
Okay, so once you got that prepared, right, and then like so I start warming up the stock.
ヤマト基準として、スープ1杯が 300g。
Yeah, so our standard like one serving, right? Or one serving like this stock is like 300 grams, 300 grams. So like this one scoop of this ladle measures 300 grams of this stock.
で、これぴったり 300g 入るレードルが売ってあったりするので、こういうの使うと便利です。
Yeah, so there are some ladles that like sold, that like exact like quantity that you need. So you can find it locally, then get it. That's pretty convenient.
で、最初にこの作ってもらった麺で作っていきますね。
Right, so let's start cooking the noodles like we just made, and
で、大体これぐらいの太さだと1分茹でたら出来上がります。
yeah, so that depending on the customer preference, that like cooking times like yeah, it's like 30 seconds to like 1 minute.
しっかりお湯が沸いているところに入れてあげてください。
Yeah, you need to have the water boiling before you add the noodles in there. And at the same time, because the cooking time is so short, like you need to, watch the this stock being cooked as well. Yeah, and
スープ沸きました。
soup's ready. Get that in. Okay, so that's the tonkatsu soup.
でもうすぐ入れられます。
Okay, the noodles are ready. Okay, so just add the noodles right in, like make sure that the noodles are, getting salt in the soup and then kind of getting coated with oil and everything. Okay, let's start plating, right? And then I've got this like chashu that's one cooked like in low temperature and flavored egg and this memma, like bamboo shoot. And yeah, chopped up scallions, top, right? So that's a bowl like authentic, like kind of well, normal like regular bowl like tonkotsu ramen, but like yeah, but like having the chashu like that's like low temperature, like low temperature cooked chashu is kind of rare, but like yeah, but it's so that's how we like how the like both ramen is like put together, and then you have to see the timing, and then like there's an order of like how you order of like what you do, right? You need to like have the tare and like oil like already like in there, and then like you start cooking noodles, and then start like warming up the soup, base soup, and then so there's order to it, and because like there's efficiency, and then like um, timing of like serving, right? Like because you want to be able to like serve like your customers like the best bowls of ramen every time, every single time, right? So like so that's the practice, like that's the manual that we teach at school, and then yeah, so that's what we are going to be like going to be teaching online school as well. So thank you very much. Bye bye.